I remember meeting this woman. Late 20s or early 30s. I forgot her name. She was quite pretty, in a nerdy girl way. She wore these big prescription glasses under her bangs. She was very quiet. But sometimes I would catch her staring at me intensely. I figured she was the girlfriend of my new client, checking on my work. 2 weeks later, I got a call from that same woman. She wanted to hire me for a small project. I was flattered for remembering me. It was a personal art project, she said. Then I remembered how she would look over at me 2 weeks ago, with her glossy, big brown eyes, intensely locking her gaze. Then I said, "I don't want you to hire me. Your work, it's too personal. I feel it. But I will help you." Continued. Even though this is our second time meeting each other, I did not talk to her the very first time. I thought she was in a relationship with my client, who I had been doing this work. But I sensed she would become somebody special. Somehow. But I didn't know how this would happen. I didn't even really talk to her, because she was there working with the client. So only very brief, casual, and polite small talk. And the work was completed. Now here she is. We're talking with each other. I could tell she wanted to formally meet me, because I didn't know how that could ever happen. I didn't know her name, or anything else. To be continued. There is no confusion. This is true mutual attraction. And to finally get all your senses to be correctly aligned, you realize that uncommon things like twists of fate actually do happen. And it happened to me. So we were going to meet again. Formally, this time. And in person. I was making very sure that this was true mutual attraction, and it was. 100%. That meant it was true physical attraction. I wanted that. It had to be 100% because I failed many times at this. Because I didn't know, at the time, that a girl felt the same way for me. We were like passing ships, traveling to other destinations. Not knowing we were right for each other, all along. But we didn't know. This time, we do know. 100%. To be continued. I think we were in the last week of the old year. Because I was single, I didn't do anything special. I don't buy special gifts or commit to special events. I don't have anybody. I just remember that she invited me to a comedy club to see someone she knows. Then she will cook us a homemade dinner afterwards. Oh. It's an early afternoon show and we would meet there. To see someone she knows. Is that a red flag? This was a real bummer, because this always happens to a nice guy like me. On the other hand, I remember I met a prospective new girlfriend and I ended up arguing with her about bringing her guy friend along. She stopped talking to me. I'll bite my tongue. So, that afternoon, I went to the comedy club. And I was genuinely surprised. To be continued. She never said she did stand-up comedy. I just assumed we came here to watch someone else. Such a pleasant surprise. Not the quiet girl from my first encounter. To me, people would probably say she was a classic bookworm. Quiet as a mouse. At that first encounter, she had basic work attire on. Work slacks and a plain, but pretty blouse. And now, she was all dressed up. She was wearing a business casual dress. But it revealed she had very obvious feminine curves. And this mesmerizing glow surrounded her. I remember, even though she was new to comedy, she had confidence from performing on a live comedy stage. She was practicing her art, and she was live. So many new things I learned from this new encounter. The two of us. We were on a true date now. To be continued. She confessed that the ex-boyfriend jokes in her comedy set were true. He was briefly in her life. It was his abusive rage that drove her away. I looked in her eyes. I trust her. We took turns during dinner telling anecdotes about ourselves. I told her I really don't drink. Only at parties. She understood. So we drank responsibly. I know. We are all at our best behavior. In our after-dinner conversations, I noticed we got closer and closer. I could feel the heat intensify from within our bodies. Then we were kissing and rubbing and caressing each other's body, so our clothes would slowly come apart, almost like they were melting, layer upon layer, until only the sheer undergarments were barely clinging on. To be continued. She was European, I forgot from where, but she had been living in Los Angeles for a while. She spoke full English with a light accent. She was Catholic, and she probably believes you are a sinner when you have full sexual intercourse before marriage. But I remember she made some funny jokes about premarital sex in her comedy act. But I think she does believe in not having any sort of penetration on the first date. I agree with that. I don't want to rush this blossoming relationship. We were almost fully undressed. Somewhere, I had removed the snaps on her bra, and I remembered how easy it was to unsnap them with one hand without taking your eyes off her. She noticed this too, and we casually conversed about getting her nice lingerie from Macy's. At least, trying to discuss random things between our heavy breathing. Then she added, "I want to see you again." To be continued. I've always wanted something like this, but never really had. Someone who is a genuine soulmate. But things like this happen when you least expect. I know this is a cliche. I was head over heels over her. I don't know what happens next, but I will take the next step. She stopped because it's 2 a.m. And we got lost in the moment. And she told me that she wants to see me again. In the midst of our elevated senses. Her glowing essence. My perspiration. I remembered she works in the morning, like me. And we both work this weekend because we both wanted to work this holiday. That was before our unexpected meeting. We work over the holidays so couples and families could vacation together. We're single. Right now anyway. She had only her sheer panties on, from Macy's. My faded jeans were unbuckled around my thighs. Her aunt lives directly across the street. She doesn't want her aunt to see me staying the night. It's highly improper. This is a dense neighborhood, and she has many close neighbors. And gossip. So we held one another for a long time. In total silence. Cheek to cheek. With our eyes closed. When I was that 19-year-old at UCLA, I was only looking to score. I had tunnel vision. Missile lock was on. Now I'm 37, I felt this intense erection. Being with her. I thought this intensity didn't happen to me anymore. She was only in her panties, and I was fully exposed. But she was slowly caressing my arms with her hands. With her eyes closed. Softly smiling. My arms were around her. Fully embracing her. Before I go. To be continued. She was a smart and funny girl. She was so sexy and so sensual. But most of all, she was deep in her faith. I found true love. To be with her again. I was very lucky. To get this twist of fate. Truly a gift from God. What now? Another twist of fate? No half-spin, turnarounds. No start-overs. No play-agains. No. This felt evil. Evil was here. And I literally fell from grace. From the second-story platform I was building. I was unconscious until the next morning. Awakened by a bad broken knee and massive swelling. I could not walk again for most of that year. Only once I experienced this. The highest of highs. And I never saw my soulmate ever again.